Commander Vexthul stood on the bridge of the Bone Crusher, his 9-foot frame casting shadows across the tactical displays. His crimson eyes surveyed the small blue world rotating lazily before his war fleet. Earth, they called it. The 47th world, to fall beneath the might of the Corac Empire. Pathetic, he growled, his voice a rumble that made lesser species tremble. No orbital defenses. No plasma barriers. These humans don't even have fusion drives. His clawed hand traced the holographic display showing Earth's primitive satellite network. How did such weakness survive this long? Subcommander Kralith bared his fangs in what passed for a Corac smile. Perhaps they taste better when they're soft, Commander. The conquered civilizations speak of human creativity, but creativity means nothing against superior firepower. Vexthul had heard the whispers. Humans were different, some said. They didn't fight like the others. But whispers were just fear talking, and fear was a luxury the Corac had beaten out of themselves millennia ago. 47 worlds. 47 perfect victories. Species that had mastered antimatter, controlled gravity, bent space itself. All had knelt before Corac's strength. Begin bombardment protocols, Vexthul commanded. Standard pacification. Leave enough infrastructure for mining operations. The Bone Crusher's weapons charged with a sound like dying stars. 300,000 kilometers away, Dr. Sarah Chun watched the Corac fleet through the reinforced windows of Luna Base Alpha. Her hands were steady as she adjusted the quantum resonance scanner, but her heart hammered against her ribs. 47 civilizations, she whispered to General Rodriguez, who stood beside her in full battle armor. They've never lost, never even been seriously challenged. Rodriguez's weathered face remained impassive. Then they're about to learn something new. He activated his comm unit. All stations, this is General Rodriguez. Operation Mirror Shield is now active. Repeat, we are weapons free. Chen's fingers danced across her console. Planetary defense grid coming online. Stealth Fleet's Alpha through Delta report ready status. She paused, allowing herself one moment of doubt. Miguel, what if we're wrong? What if humanity really isn't ready for this? The general's hand settled on her shoulder. Sarah, we've been watching them for 3 years. We've studied their tactics, their psychology, their technology. We've reverse-engineered their own weapons and turned them into something they won't recognize. His eyes hardened. They think they're apex predators. Time to show them what evolution really looks like. The first Corac plasma bolts struck Earth's atmosphere and vanished into shimmering fields of deflected energy. The planetary shield grid, invisible until activated, blazed to life around the planet like a second skin made of starlight. Vexthul's roar shook the Bone Crusher's bridge. Impossible. No primitive species has planetary shielding. That's when space began to ripple. One by one, human vessels decloaked around the Corac fleet. Not the crude metal ships Vexthul expected, but sleek predators built from stolen Corac technology and refined by human ingenuity. They moved with surgical precision, forming a sphere around the invaders, not to destroy, but to cage. The communications array crackled to life, and a calm human voice spoke in perfect high Corac. Corac Fleet Command, this is Admiral Lisa Park of the United Earth Defense Force. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately, and no harm will come to your crews. Vexthul's claws scraped against his command throne. How do they know our language? How? Commander. Kralith's voice cracked with something Vexthul had never heard from a Corac warrior, fear. The Marrow Ripper isn't responding to commands. Her weapons are. The Marrow Ripper, one of their own dreadnoughts, turned its guns on the Corac formation. Its hull displayed a message in blazing letters. Hacked. Compliments of Dr. Sarah Chun, Lunar Cybernetics Division. Admiral Park's voice returned, and now there was steel beneath the silk. You have 60 seconds to comply. We know about Xerium Prime. We know about the Kephalian massacre. We know about the children you murdered on Tau Epsilon. Each word hit like a physical blow. You will answer for those crimes. The only choice you have is whether you answer as prisoners or as corpses. Captain James Morrison led Strike Team Gamma through the Bone Crusher's ventilation system, his enhanced suit allowing him to move through spaces no human should have survived. Behind him, 5 of Earth's finest operators followed like whispers in the dark. They designed their ships like fortresses. Morrison breathed into his calm. But fortresses have one weakness. They're built to keep enemies out, not in. They emerged in the Corac engine room, where massive aliens tended plasma reactors that could power entire cities. Morrison's team moved with lethal efficiency, not to kill, but to capture. Stun weapons fired in synchronized bursts. Neural dampeners activated. Within 90 seconds, the engine room was theirs. "This is Strike Team Gamma," Morrison reported. "Package is secured. Beginning shutdown sequence." Across the Corac fleet, similar operations played out. Humans didn't fight the way their enemies expected. They didn't mass charge into superior firepower. They infiltrated, subverted, and dismantled their opponents with surgical precision. Every Corac weakness, cataloged over 3 years of observation, was exploited with ruthless efficiency. But it was what happened next that truly broke the Corac spirit. Vexthul, now bound in neural restraints aboard Admiral Park's flagship, expected torture, expected execution, expected the kind of brutality the Corac themselves had perfected. Instead, he was brought before a human tribunal, where he faced something far more terrifying than death: justice. "Commander Vexthul," Admiral Park said, her voice carrying the weight of 47 dead civilizations. "You stand accused of genocide, slavery, and crimes against sentient life. How do you answer?" Vexthul lifted his head, expecting to see hatred in the human's eyes. Instead, he found something worse: disappointment. "You think to judge me, soft skin? I am Corac. We are strength incarnate." Dr. Chin stepped forward, her tablet displaying images that made even Vexthul flinch. Strength. She showed him recordings from the Corac archives. Children fleeing burning cities, families torn apart, entire species reduced to ash. This isn't strength. This is the tantrum of a frightened child who breaks toys when they don't work the way he wants. "We could execute you," Admiral Park continued. "By every law of war, by every standard of justice, you've earned death 1,000 times over. But we're not Corac. We're human. And we believe in something your species forgot long ago: redemption." The terms were simple and more devastating than any death sentence. The surviving Corac would help rebuild what they had destroyed. Their warships would be converted to hospital ships, colony vessels, research platforms. Their warriors would become gardeners, teachers, healers. They would spend the rest of their lives giving back to the galaxy they had tried to break. Those who refused would face solitary confinement for life. Not cruelty, but removal from a society they couldn't rejoin. Vexthul chose rédemption. 5 years later, former Commander Vexthul stood on the observation deck of the medical vessel New Growth. Once the dreaded Bone Crusher, his claws, once instruments of death, now carefully tended to seedlings that would restore the forests of Kepler 442b. The children didn't fear him anymore. Human, Cephalian, even some young Corac born into this new age of cooperation. They gathered around him to hear stories of the old days and how the galaxy had learned to heal. "Uncle Vex," asked a small human girl named Maya, "why did my people forgive you?" Vexthul's answer came slowly, in words he'd learned from the humans. "Because, little star, they understood something we Corac had forgotten. The strongest thing in the universe isn't the power to destroy. It's the power to create something better from the ashes." The Galactic Restoration Project had exceeded every projection. Dead worlds bloomed again. Enslaved species reclaimed their heritage. The Alliance grew stronger with each passing year, bound not by fear, but by shared purpose. But peace, Vexthul had learned from the humans, was not the absence of conflict. It was the space between conflicts where good people prepared for the next test. The test came on a Tuesday. Admiral Park, now Director of Galactic Defense, received the transmission on Luna Base Alpha. The message was broadcast on all frequencies in every known language, accompanied by sensor readings that made her blood run cold. A fleet was approaching the outer rim. Not hundreds of ships like the Corac. Not thousands. Tens of thousands. A armada that blotted out stars, representing an alliance of species who had heard the whispers from the inner galaxy. The message was simple. We come to cleanse the galaxy of the plague, known as humanity. You have committed the gravest sin possible. You have given hope to the hopeless, strength to the weak, and tomorrow to those we had condemned to oblivion. This cancer of compassion ends now. Park smiled as she read the final line of their ultimatum. We are not afraid of your weapons, humans. We have seen what you do to your enemies. We fear something far worse, what you do to your friends. You are the soft death, and we will not let you spread. She opened a channel to the defense grid, to the fleets scattered across 47 restored systems, to the mixed crews of humans and former enemies who had become family. All stations, this is Admiral Park. Red alert. It seems we have some teaching to do. She paused, thinking of Maya and all the children who would inherit whatever tomorrow they built. Remember what we fight for. Not conquest, not revenge. Hope, justice, the radical idea that everyone, even our enemies, deserves a chance to be better than they are. The soft death was coming for them, and the galaxy would never be the same.